dead cells are toxic. So you need to clean those out too. So you've got to be aware that there's a toxicity that's being generated just through metabolism inside your body. So I tell people we all take a shower on the outside of our body every day. Taking chlorella is like giving your body a shower on the inside.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited today to be with Catharine Arnston. She has an incredible company. It's called ENERGYbits. I've been a huge lover of her products forever, in fact, and we're going to get all into algae and biohacking and all sorts of different conversations that we need to be having today. But I just want to thank all of you. We're on Dr. Josh Axe's podcast, and I'm thanking all of you for being here with us today. We're really excited to sort of dig into some of the areas that Catharine has been focused on for her career. So welcome, Catharine. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share my 12 years of research on algae. What a specialty, right?
It's an incredible story. So tell us first and foremost, what happened? How did you get interested in algae? From one day.
Yes, I didn't. I know. No, I wasn't born in the ocean and birthed by, a mermaid or anything.
Although you do kind of look like you could be.
Right. I was on Shark Tank and they wanted seaweed on me, but that didn't work out. But anyways, I live in Boston. I've been here 33 years, but I'm actually Canadian, and all my family's still in Canada. And I mentioned that because, and I have an MBA and I was doing international business. But I mentioned the Canada piece because 13 years ago, my younger sister, who I'm very close to, developed breast cancer. Now, first of all, I want everybody to know that she's fine, and we celebrate her being cancer-free every year, and she's 11 years cancer-free now. But 13 years ago, when she did develop it, as she was preparing for chemo, her oncologist recommended she change her diet to an alkaline diet. Now, and this is an oncologist, not your neighbor. This is a professional. So my sister paid attention to her, but the oncologist didn't actually tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So the first call she made was to me, because I'm just a very good researcher and I love my sister. So I said, hey, I have no idea what this stuff is, but I will find out. And I did. And you could still Google it. It's basically a plant-based diet because of the phytonutrients and the chlorophyll, which have been proven for decades for building your immune system. So I dug in, found some products, found some foods, told her what to eat, what not to eat. She went through chemo. She completely healed. And as I mentioned, she's 12 years cancer-free. But in the process of helping her, I started reading about plant-based nutrition. Now, this was 13 years ago, and nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition 13 years ago. And even though I had no science background, no nutrition background, I do have a scientific mind. So I thought, man, somebody needs to tell the rest of the world about this stuff because it's pretty powerful. So I just quit my corporate job, went back to school. I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And when I graduated, I taught plant-based nutrition. And this is where my epiphany happened that ultimately led me to algae. And I'm sorry, it's such a long story.
No, this is a beautiful story.
It's the truth. So as I was teaching people the importance of eating vegetables, and I had a fabulous presentation, they said to me, hey, you're not telling us anything that we didn't already know. Our mothers have been trying to get us to eat our veggies since we were kids, right? But what I did learn is that even though people want to eat healthier, it's too much work. Let's face it, vegetables are heavy. To carry home from the grocery store. They take a lot of room in your fridge. They take a long time to clean, to cook, to eat. Kids won't eat them. Husbands won't eat them. And I like to point out, French fries don't count as a vegetable. So I thought, okay, if I can't get people to eat more vegetables because there's too many obstacles, I need to find a way to get them all the green nutrition that they need in a way that is effortless. Once again, I had no idea how I was going to do that, but I dug in. And after a couple of months, I finally found the answer. And it was algae. And you're going to learn about it now because algae is the most alkaline food in the world. First of all, there's that box checked. It's also the most nutrient dense food in the world. And that's just not my opinion. We have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of vegetables. That's 1 to 1,000. I mean, as you're going to learn, these algae, microalgae, they're called micro because they're microscopic. 1 million of them would fit on the head of a pin. And so when you consolidate them as we do into tiny tablets, which I'll show you more in a minute, it's each one of these tiny little tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. But when you swallow them, it's effortless. No fighting, no cleaning, no cooking, no caring. I just had a plate of vegetables. So anyways, alkaline, nutrient dense, endorsed by the United Nations since 1974. That's almost 50 years ago.
My word.
As the answer to world hunger.
Because I was born in 1974. It's amazing.
So you can go online and you can see the papers, so I can send them to you. They decided that spirulina algae was the answer to world hunger because, drum roll, it has 3 times the amount of protein as steak. It has the highest concentration of protein in the world, and it's a sustainable, eco-friendly crop. So endorsed by NASA, endorsed by the United Nations. Oh, it's also the most studied food in the world. There are not 1, not 10, not 100, not 1,000, 100,000 studies documenting the benefits of algae. And I'm going to talk about a few of them. But here's the problem.
Before we go there, I want to step back for 1 second for all of us. I want to talk a little bit about the alkaline diet and then go super deep into algae, because I'm learning so much right now. I know everybody else is as well. Let's talk just about the alkaline diet and who should be doing it and how hard is it to do and how algae can get you there and sort of the numbers, a little bit about that, because there's a lot of questions that a lot of people have around the alkaline diet. And I personally have dealt with autoimmune health issues my entire life. So I have always focused on an alkaline diet because if I don't have an alkaline diet, the inflammation in my body, I feel it. It's in you see it, I feel it. It impacts me in every way. So it's as important for me to start my day with certain alkaline foods. Right. And then if I'm eating more acidic foods, they're later in the day. Like I primarily eat a high fat diet. I can't start my day off with nuts, right? Even though I want that fat later on. If I'm getting fats that are coming from like avocado, alkalining vegetables, my dark green leafy vegetables, like I've already had my green juice this morning. And you talk about algae and how important they are. So I'd love for you with your experience coming from your heart with the love that you have for your sister, the power of that, right? Like what's more powerful than being able to assist your sister in living on this planet through your research, through your love, through what becomes this alkaline diet than what you've done. So please share us. I know. Share with us.
The funny thing was I had no intention of starting a company. I just wanted to help my sister. And then once I got a little further along, I thought, well, I can help a few more people. And then I could help a few more people. And then with algae, I thought, man, I could help the world. So I'm on a world mission here.
I love it.
So let me walk you through a couple things about the alkaline diet. I'll talk about blood pH and cellular pH. And this is why my sister's doctor wanted her to have an alkaline diet. So just so people know what the pH is, everything in that exists, especially food, is on a pH scale of very high acidity, which is a low number. It goes from 0 to 14. And the higher the number, the more alkaline it is. And there isn't any food that has a higher alkalinity than algae. So first of all, you need to know it is the most alkaline food in the world. And if you did nothing else but added algae to your diet, it would facilitate bringing your body back into homeostasis. Now, our bodies generally need to be slightly alkaline. So the middle, so it's 7.2 for your cellular alkalinity pH, and your blood is actually 7.34. Most people know that you need a body temperature of 98.6 to be healthy. Well, your blood needs to stay at 7.34. It is very specific. And so here's what happens when you eat acidic food, or you're very emotional, or you exercise too much, and acidity gets into your bloodstream because of the nature of the whatever you're putting in your body. Acidic food, by the way, are things like animal protein, processed foods, sugars. They're all acidic. So your blood has to keep at that 7.34. So Mother Nature is so intelligent. If you eat acidic food, your body goes, this is good for me. So what it does automatically is it pulls minerals from where they're stored, which is mostly your bones, but also in your cells and your organs. And it pulls them into your blood to automatically neutralize that. Because if your pH changed and went to acidic, you would die like virtually instantly. So when that process happens over and over and over again to neutralize the acidity in your blood, it wears down your immune system. It contributes to osteoporosis because those minerals are supposed to be doing other things in the cells or in their bones. By the way, your bone flexibility and health isn't based on calcium. It's based on minerals and a protein matrix. So when it's like someone saying, hey, can you lend me $5? It's, your blood is saying, hey, can you lend me some minerals? But after a while, it gets tired of giving away all its minerals, and then that causes its own health issues. So that's number one, is the pH of your blood. Now, remember, your blood is your freeway of nutrients that feeds the rest of your body. So what I'm telling you next is also connected to the pH of your blood, because if your blood wasn't healthy, your cells aren't going to be healthy either. But at the cellular level, and all of your health issues, good or bad, start at the cellular level. And it's a combination of the cell walls, which need to be permeable, and the mitochondria, which are what's called the organelles that are inside the cells that generate the energy for all of everything in your body. It generates energy for your digestion, for your heartbeat, for your energy, for your thoughts. So you need to keep those mitochondria happy. If anybody has kids, if your kids aren't fed, they're very unhappy. And so if your mitochondria aren't fed healthy alkaline nutrients, they're very unhappy and they die and they don't come back. In fact, your mitochondria health deteriorates as you age. It's just an unfortunate part of aging, but it can be reversed, and they also die as you age. So Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize in 1941 for discovering that all cancers cancer and basically all disease can only exist in an acidic environment, cannot exist at the cellular level in an alkaline environment. This is because when your cells become too acidic, because there's too many free radicals, there's not enough alkaline nutrients. What happens is there's less oxygen in the cell, and that oxygen means that the mitochondria can't be supported. The cell becomes, and the cell walls become impermeable, so the toxins can't get out. And then this mitochondria become more damaged, and the cell becomes more damaged, and that ultimately leads to things like fatigue because the mitochondria aren't functioning properly. And very often it stops the communication within the cells because the oxygen is gone and they aren't healthy anymore. And that can lead to disease, whether it's cancer or heart disease. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's a slippery slope when your pH of your cells are not at the alkaline level. It increases inflammation when they're acidic. I mean, it's just, so to stay healthy, to keep your longevity, to improve your skin. I laugh because there's so many beauty products out there like La Mer that, which are, $400 for a tiny cup. They've been selling, their secret ingredient is algae. Absolutely. And it's like, why just put the benefits of algae on your skin when you can give it to your entire body by ingesting it? Yeah. And by the way, you get all of the benefits when you ingest it. When you buy these topicals, they're just extracts. So you're cheating yourself. You're not getting your full money's worth. So
I agree. And having been covered in eczema as an expression of my autoimmune disorders, putting things on my body, by the way, is not something that's easy to do. And as we also know, like as wonderful and as sexy and romantic as La Mer is, you're also putting a lot of other chemicals on your body. An average woman will put about 500 chemicals on her body every single day without even realizing it. So, Catherine, you're teaching us about the power of an alkaline diet. We're starting to really understand this idea of how powerful algae is. What do you do? Like, what does your average day look like as far as how you alkaline your blood, your entire body? Like, what do you do? Give us some specifics of the things that you do that we can follow.
Sure. Yeah, I'm pretty boring because it's so consistent, but it works. And I'll share with you the fact that I just turned 65 and I don't have any wrinkles and my skin is very vibrant.
Everybody, 65. Look at you.
Yeah, not bad. It's not just my skin; it's my energy. I only have millennials working for me, and I don't use any fancy products. In fact, I saw that you grew up in a biodynamic farm, and the only cream I use is Dr. Hauschka, which is biodynamically farmed, and I've used it for 30 years.
Beautiful.
That's the only thing I use. Nothing else. So my day starts in the morning with purified water, filtered water, not purified, with some lemon squeezes, which is very important because the lemon, fresh lemon, not any kind of fabricated stuff, it helps alkaline the water, and it also cleanses out your liver. And you need to remember that the very first thing that you put in your body is going to have the most impact on your body because you've been fasting while you've been sleeping. So, make your choice wisely. So that's what I do. I have a couple of glasses of that. Then I have a tea that's called yerba mate, which is very similar to green tea, but it's heavier. It's also more alkaline. It's the national drink of Argentina, by the way. And It's also energizing and it's thicker. So it gives you a little bit of sense of nourishment. Then I do some meditation, some stretching, and I recently added a red light therapy device. So I do that in front of the device. And then I have my algae. I have both the spirulina. We're going to talk about the spirulina and the chlorella because I want to be sure you understand the difference because they are completely different. Yeah. So I have some of those, and then I have some more water, and then I switch over to green tea, and that's all I have until about 1 o'clock, and then I usually have a pea protein powder mix with mixed with almond milk, which is alkaline, and I throw in a few pistachio nuts by then with more chlorella algae. Chlorella algae tablets are my favorite food in the world, and I eat them with pistachios or almonds or macadamia nuts.
Yes.
And then I'll have a real meal, later in the day, like, maybe an early dinner, but it's usually quinoa or, broccoli and more of a salad. I do eat some dairy, eggs and dairy and seafood, but I don't eat a lot of chicken or beef. And then I if I'm still hungry, I'll have more, algae tablets because, as I say, I eat them all day long. I certainly have some before bed and we'll talk about this in a minute. When you sleep, your body goes through a detox and repair cycle. So if you have the chlorella, which we call ENERGYbits, in your system, it will facilitate that because, as you're going to learn, it's the most healing food in the entire world. And it also stimulates peristalsis, also known as bowel movements, which is a very important part of wellness. So
I'm looking at you. I just have to say, I'm looking at you. You're telling me you're 65 years old and you look 20 years younger and you're acting like 30 years younger. So whatever you're doing, we need to really listen intensely. And what you're saying about just your program of doing things, I just recently interviewed a good friend of mine, Dr. Cohen. She wrote a book called Quench. So when you talk about hydration in the morning and you're using the lemon to alkaline your water and you're drinking a lot of water, that's a big part of her entire thesis. Like, most of us are dehydrated, right? And it's not about, you talked about bowel movements. It's not just about how many glasses of water you're going to be drinking. It's about how many times you're urinating in a day. So if we're urinating, 6, 7, 8 times, we are hydrated. Our cells are hydrated, which I'm sure has a lot to do with the alkalinity. And then when you went on to sort of talk a bit about the detox at night while we're sleeping, we know that we activate our autophagy, the autophagy autophagy, so self-eating, that whole process that won the Nobel Prize in 2016. I wrote my first book, Glow 15, actually, about the process of autophagy. It's most active when you're sleeping. So I love that you're saying you time your nutrition. Everything you're doing, it sounds like you focus on this timing element of it. And it's really powerful to hear.
Yeah. And it does work. And so, Dave Asprey jokes about how he wants to live till 120 and he will, and so will I. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on fancy equipment. If you just know, like, just this one tiny little nutrient that you add to your diet. I was just at the biohacking congress in Miami. So I said, this is the nutritional hack of a lifetime. And as you're going to find out, algae's been around for 3.5 billion years. It's the oldest life on Earth, and it's still here. So it's got something to teach us. We just need to listen.
So true. Okay, so talk to us all about spirulina, all about chlorella, like this whole world, and we're so happy to learn from you.
Yeah. Well, if it's okay with you, I'll step back and start a little higher level of what exactly algae is. And I've got a few teaching materials to show people. So
I'm seeing the lines in your your jaw structure and all of that. I'm just blown away. You look unbelievable.
Oh, well, and this is all my own hair. I don't, there's no extensions or anything. So
amazing.
I just, I know this stuff is the answer. And by the way, it's also the most sustainable crop in the world. So it's not only going to help you look and feel better, it's going to help the earth. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So first of all, algae, as I mentioned, was the first life on Earth 3.5 billion years ago. And, it's everywhere. It's in the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, the soils, your swimming pool, your aquarium. But algae absorbs whatever's in the water, and our water is toxic. Let's face it. So it's fine for the fish and the whales. This is what they feed on, is the algae, but it's not fine for humans. So there's two main types of algae. One is called macroalgae, and one is called microalgae. Macroalgae, I'll just mention so you know what it is that big stringy stuff that washes up on shore, also known as seaweed, dulse, kale, or kelp rather. And it's very important for you because it's got lots of fiber and it has iodine because it comes from the ocean, but there's virtually zero nutrition in it. You might know it as wraps when you have sushi, but it's as I say, it's really good for you, but not for the nutrition. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about microalgae, which is called microalgae because I said earlier, about 1 million cells would fit on the head of a pin. It's so tiny. And because it's so concentrated, this is how you get that 1 to 1,000 nutritional range. So as I mentioned, there's tens of thousands of strains in the oceans and the lakes and the rivers, but there are only 2 that are harvested as food crops. And I'm going to show you a picture. This is an example of a spirulina farm. Chlorella grows in round farms. But so number one, I want people to know that this algae that we sell, and that 99% of the algae that's on the market, the spirulina and the chlorella, whether you buy it from Whole Foods or from Target, it's grown in fresh water, not from the ocean. So box checked, no toxins. Of course, ours is even better because of the way we grow it. So it's a food. It's no different than kale or broccoli. It's not a supplement. So that's the other number 2 I need people to understand. It's a food. This is a game changer because your body comes from nature and food comes from nature. So when you have food like algae, your body can recognize all the nutrients because it comes with all the things like factors and cofactors and enzymes and coenzymes. So it goes, oh, I know what to do with that. I'll use that vitamin C for my skin, or, oh, I know what to do with that B vitamin. I'll use that for my electron transport chain. When you use supplements, they tend to be made in factories with extracts, and so they're harder for your body to absorb. So spirulina and chlorella are the 2 that are harvested as food crops. Spirulina, let's talk about it. It's a blue-green algae. It's called a blue-green algae because it has 2 pigments in it. One is a blue pigment called phycocyanin, which I know you'll never remember and can't spell. But if you took a couple of tablets and put them in the water, this is the color that comes out of it. I want you to notice two things. A, how beautiful the blue is, and B, how it disperses evenly throughout the water. That's because phycocyanin is a water-based pigment. And then chlorella, which we'll talk about later, and also spirulina has chlorophyll in it as well. Chlorella's only pigment is chlorophyll. See how it clumps and it doesn't disperse evenly? That's because chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. And we're going to talk about this later because that cell wall that we talked about earlier that needs to have a healthy cell wall needs fats to keep the cell wall healthy. Mm-hmm. That's why chlorophyll is so cleansing and healing, is because it heals your cell walls because it's a fat-based pigment. So anyways, back to spirulina, blue-green algae. And what does it do? It provides you with, it satisfies your hunger. It gives you energy mentally and physically. And how does it do that? Because it has, as I mentioned, the highest protein in the world. Mm-hmm. And it's a complete protein. It has all the amino acids that your body cannot make. It has 18 of the 20 aminos. And here's the really amazing thing about both the algae. When you have animal protein, your body needs sometimes up to 3 days to break it down into aminos so it can be absorbed, because that's the only format it can use. When you take algae, the protein's already in amino acid form. Nothing for your body to do. So it just gets absorbed instantly. By the way, algae has more protein than collagen powder. And collagen powder is also not a complete protein, and it's also not sustainable, whereas algae is. The other reason why it gets into your bloodstream so quickly is because spirulina is technically a bacteria. It does not have a cellulose wall. So again, all the amino acids, nothing for your body to break down, no cellulose wall, nothing for your body to break down. So boom, gets into your bloodstream almost instantly. And the energy comes from all the B vitamins. It has all the B vitamins, which convert the aminos into energy. And then you're satisfied with, your hunger is satisfied because it's 64% protein and it's loaded with essential fatty acids, including omega-3, which also nourish and satisfy your hunger, but they also nourish your brain. Spirulina has also other attributes like it's a vasodilator, which opens up blood vessels so all the nutrients can flow faster. It has boron, which helps with your synapses and your coordination and your thought. But overall, it has been used for centuries for nourishing and energizing your body and your brain. It can be a replacement for many of your supplements. It can replace your multivitamin, CoQ10, biotin for your hair, fish oil for sure. So it's quite powerful that way. So, and it's effortless.
It's very interesting. I am obviously a huge fan of algae in general, various algae. And I love how you're breaking down the difference, between chlorella, between spirulina. Those visuals are wonderful. I do a lot with astaxanthin. I love the red algae. I love that.
Yes.
Salmon will eat tons of astaxanthin. And I've always, since I was a little girl, been fascinated, like, how do these fish swim upstream? What gives them the power and the energy to do that? And it's this algae, it's this red algae, and to your point, where things are sourced, like the astaxanthin that I get, which I love, because of, to your point, also all of the clinical studies, but I love astaxanthin because it also really helps our bodies recover from exercise. Yeah. And the studies
and we'll talk about chlorella does that too, but I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But again, to your point, where these things are grown, like the astaxanthin that I source, it comes from Israel and it's grown in these very specific tanks. So you're getting an organic source, and you're talking about these fresh, lakes, and we're not talking about the ocean. And I think it's important that people understand that. And also understand how versatile, adding these bits, these little energy bits into our lives. Like, my friend Ben Greenfield, I don't even know, so many years ago, we were going on a hike and we had our little baggie of treats, like little snacks. Well, guess what? Filled with chlorella bits right in there, eating them with the nuts. And that's how you incorporate it. And I love how you put that one little piece in your mouth, like, well, that's a whole plate of vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
we've been working
cool.
with Ben for 7 or 8 years. I've done 2 podcasts with him. Yeah, he's terrific. He's
Yeah.
really always out on the front edge discovering. Like, I can't believe he discovered us literally 7 years ago. So we're big fans of Ben's. So
Oh,
anyways, and most people take the spirulina in the morning because that's when you're hungry. That's when you want energy. It's also great as a meal replacement or a snack in the afternoon when your energy drops, or before a workout. You could have 10 or 20 for lunch. And by the way, there's only 1 calorie. They're ketogenic. They're also vegan. They're organic, sustainable, 40 vitamins and minerals. That's why they could replace a multivitamin. And kids actually love them because
my kids do.
if they chew them, their tongue turns green. So they think that's really funny, and they turn it into a bit of a game. So if you can turn it that way, you'll never have to worry about them getting their vegetables ever again. And same with men. They are notorious for not eating vegetables. So I just love it because it nourishes and heals, and it's from Mother Nature, first life on earth. Can't go wrong with that. The only thing is, most people do swallow them because they do have a very earthy, chewy flavor.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have 2 versions of spirulina on our website.
Oh,
The first
I love
one,
your packaging. Look at that.
thank you. I designed it. So the first one is ENERGYbits because we wanted people to know what it did, and it's packaged in blue so that you know that it's a blue-green algae. But I found after a couple of years, women just weren't attracted to the packaging, and my girlfriends, literally, this is what they said: you got to make it pink and give it a cute name. And because the high protein, which builds your skin, and the high antioxidants, which protect your elastin, I thought, well, because it's good for your skin, let's make another version and call it Beauty Bits. So these are I just want people to know these are exactly the same. But someone says, oh, you've got a girl spirulina and a boy spirulina. So that's pretty much it. I just want people to feel comfortable with the product, because once it gets into your body, your body knows what to do with it. We just have to get you to get it in there.
Talk to us about how much you take, how much of the different algae you take.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, I'm pretty high energy because I'm on my path, and I'm following my passion, and that's very energizing in its own right. So I only have 5, maximum 10 spirulina in the morning, but I have a lot of chlorella, and I don't want anyone to think they have to eat as much as I do. So
we want to know what you do. Tell us.
I mean, I have at least 100 or more of chlorella tablets a day. I eat them with pistachios, so I have them like as a meal. Because the fat from the pistachios, is very satisfying. But I think for the average person, you could start with just 2 or 3 tablets a day. Any amount that you get in, because I have this great visual that shows 1 tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. 1. So even 1 is better than none. And let's not forget that our soils are so damaged that even if you are eating vegetables, they are not the same vegetables we had 50 years ago. There's no nutrition, there's no enzymes, there's no minerals in the soils anymore. So the plants aren't nourished by the soil, and they're harvested in countries far, far away. So they don't have the same nutrients by the time they get on your plate. They have calories and fiber, but not nutrition. Yeah. So I call this efficient nutrition. I also call it intelligent food, because you have to be intelligent to take it, and it knows what to do in your body. And we'll talk about this in a minute. We have to put an expiry date on our bags, as FDA requires. So it's usually 3 years shelf life. 3 years. My vegetables and my arugula and my broccoli was going limp after 2 days. My arugula was going yellow after 3. I was throwing half of my vegetables out.
Yeah.
This algae never goes bad. In fact, when it's growing, if the growing conditions deteriorate, any other plant, corn, wheat, tomatoes, will just die, right?
Yeah.
Not algae. Algae will go dormant indefinitely until the growing conditions return again. And an example I have is there was a group from National Geographic that went up to the North Pole and took some ice chips to, they carbon dated them to be like a 1 or 2 billion years old. And when they realized there was some algae in there, when they got back to the lab, they thought, oh, heck, let's put the algae in a petri dish and put some water on it. Wouldn't you know, the darn thing started growing again. Same thing when you buy it, certainly from us, because we don't use high heat to dry it. So it's a raw food. It will last forever. What vegetable will do that, right?
That's so amazing. So tell us again. Okay, so when do you take your Chlorella? When do you take your Spirulina? And how should we be doing it? Like in the best format? And I hear, you're saying 100. Okay, we
no. Like most people, and I didn't want to tell you that.
But you should. Look, here's the thing. We're here to learn. This has been this is your life's path. This is important that we hear the nuances, right? Because it's always in the nuances. And that's why I'm really sort of pushing you to give us the timing on when you do it and how you do it.
Yeah. Well, as I said, for most people, if you just started with 2 or 3 tablets, Spirulina in the morning, maybe got up to 5 or 10 a day, you can have as much as you want, because it's improved focus, the satisfaction of your hunger. With 5 or 10, just try 15. And if that's not working, try 20. Or when you're going to do a big workout, take 20 and then go back to 5 in the morning. It's really your choice. We don't say specifically what you should have because everyone's different, but generally Spirulina in the morning. And let me switch over to Chlorella because I didn't have a chance. And I just want to show you again, Spirulina is the blue-green algae and Chlorella is the green algae. So you can see the difference in the colors. So Chlorella, I tend to take Chlorella all day long because I just love it. And let's face it, I don't have to buy mine. But most people, I want to encourage you, you can take it whenever you want, with food instead of food, with Spirulina instead of, whatever you want, but definitely before you go to bed. And here's why. Chlorella, remember I said Spirulina is an energizing algae and has the highest protein in the world. Right. Chlorella has the highest chlorophyll in the world, and we're going to talk about chlorophyll in a minute. But it is a wellness algae. It helps you recover your health. It recover from fitness, recover from drinking. And here's how it does it. So Chlorella with the high chlorophyll. We talked about the alkaline diet. Well, chlorophyll is very alkalining. Lots of people are drinking chlorophyll water now, but Chlorella algae has even 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll. I'm just going to show you something. My chart fell down. There's a couple of main things I want you to know about chlorophyll. This is a graphic that shows you the chemical composition of your hemoglobin and the chemical composition of chlorophyll. Notice that they're almost identical. That's because they are. That's why chlorophyll builds your blood. The only difference is your blood has iron in the middle, and that's what carries oxygen. And chlorophyll has magnesium in the middle. Otherwise, identical. Chlorophyll has been used for centuries when people were sick or they had surgeries, because it would build their blood as quickly and easily as a blood transfusion. And it does it for you too. But here's the problem. Remember I mentioned about the poor soils? We don't, even if you're eating vegetables, there's virtually zero chlorophyll in our vegetables. These little tablets, this whole little container, this has more chlorophyll than an entire room full of arugula. Wow. In fact, Chlorella has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula. It has 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll, more than wheatgrass. There is nothing in the world that has more chlorophyll than Chlorella. That's why it's called Chlorella, because of the chlorophyll. So that's number one, builds your blood. Number two, remember that chart I showed you with the chlorophyll clumped? So your blood, your cell walls, to be healthy, they need to be permeable. And that allows nutrients to get in and toxins to get out. And healthy fats will do that for you.
Absolutely.
Because chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment, it facilitates that. And the best analogy I give to people is that, when you have dirty windows, you can't see out and sunlight can't get in. Not a nice, not a great way to live. So think of chlorophyll as window washers for your cell walls. It allows nutrients to get in and toxins to get out. And when that situation is happening, your mitochondria are healthier and they're happier, and they will give you more energy, and they will stay alkaline and live longer. And we want all of that. So that's number two. The other cool thing about Chlorella is it has the hardest cell wall in the plant kingdom. Now, remember I said Spirulina has no cellulose wall. Chlorella is the complete opposite. And that hard cell wall attaches to toxins, all the heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation. It also identifies alcohol as a toxin. It identifies lactic acid as a toxin. The United Nations used it at Chernobyl after the radiation disaster there to help pull out the radiation from everybody. After the Fukushima disaster in Japan 10 years ago, the global supply of Chlorella was bought up within 24 hours because everybody in Asia knows Chlorella is the only thing that pulls out the radiation toxins. And again, I have to emphasize, algae isn't new, okay? It's just new to you. But it's been so well known and used in Asia for 75 years. It's a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop there. It's as big as the beef industry is here. And I remind people, a few years ago, we didn't know about quinoa, we didn't know about CBD, we didn't know about chia, we didn't know about matcha, we didn't know about collagen, but these are all things that have been used indigenously for centuries in other countries, right?
It's why, for me, I think I went on
you've traveled and seen
that's all that I do, because I think it was 17 years ago that I took my first sort of wellness discovery trip, and I went to Okinawa. And I went to Okinawa because there were the largest group of centenarians that were living there. Right. And there are two PhD twin brothers, actually. One, they're called Dr. Wilcox. One of them's at Harvard, and his brother's in Okinawa. And so I went to Okinawa to meet with this researcher. It was before I was doing this professionally. I was doing it because I wanted to learn. And I had to go there. I had to understand, I had to eat the foods. I had to understand that, okay, when I ordered a salad, it was really made up of all these herbs. It wasn't made up of lettuces or the ginger or the amount of green tea that they drink. There were so many nuances. And so I started that journey there. And to your point, these things are not new. When I was in Southeast Asia, in different parts of Japan, throughout China, all of the women 15, 20 years ago were consuming so much collagen-rich ingredients. They were taking collagen supplements for their skin, not what you normally see on the market today, right? Like the whole body collagens that we see everywhere, that we say, okay, it's good for my skin. It's not really true, because you need that sequence of particular amino acids, collagen aminos that work for the skin matrix. But putting that aside, those women throughout Asia have been doing it for, like you said, 75 years or more. And I love what you just said. It's not new. It's just new to us. And so I hope that everybody that's getting this wealth of knowledge and passion and insight and experience. I mean, you are literally the poster girl, the poster mermaid, I'm going to say.
Poster mermaid. I like that.
You know what I'm saying? You're the poster mermaid, because it's just unbelievable how you incorporate these powerful algae at the level that you do in your life. Just like we were chit-chatting about Ben. He and I are very much extremists. We go all the way in. Yeah. And so I've been using algae forever, but not at the levels that you're talking about. So I can't wait to start embracing.
Well, so here's the problem. And people say, well, why don't I know about it? Well, there's a couple, and let me just wrap up on collagen. So it detoxes you, pulls out toxins. It builds your, the chlorophyll heals your cell walls. As I mentioned earlier, builds your blood. And it's been used for IBS and Crohn's disease. And it does have a little bit of fiber. So it feeds the fat, the gut biome, those fat, the fat, so it can have the fatty acids that it needs to can make sure your brain and your gut are healthy. So Chlorella is a complete wellness algae. Spirulina is an energizing, nourishing algae. But if you take a couple of the Chlorella tablets every day, you will never need to eat vegetables again. Seriously. And a lot of people like myself, I have problems with fiber. So this gives you all the nourishment, none of the stomach distress of fiber, and it's effortless. You can, and we sell them in large bags, but also little, travel packs that you can toss in your gym bag or your handbag. But it's effortless. This was the key thing, is when I was teaching people about plant-based nutrition, everybody knew they needed more vegetables, but it was too much work. This, if you can swallow water, you can get your vegetables in seconds. And by the way, as I alluded to, we don't use high heat. So our algae, and nobody else that I'm aware of, our algae is a raw food. So it's raw, it's vegan, it's safe. We do third-party lab tests. I mean, this is the best food you will put in your body, bar none. And it's safe for your kids, your newborns, your pets. So take Chlorella anytime, but definitely before bed. And I would recommend 5 or 10 tablets a day will boost your immune system. If you want the detox benefits, however, you need to take 20 or 30 because it needs that much to pull it out. Now, if you don't want to take 20 or 30 every day, you could do maybe 1 week of just 5 or 10, and then 1 week of 10 or 20, and 1 or 2 weeks of each. But I want to point out that it's not just the toxins. I mean, we are surrounded by toxins, glyphosate, pesticides, chemicals in our cosmetics. I mean, it's just disgusting. We live in a cesspool, and it's so difficult and frightening to try to stay healthy. And as if that wasn't bad enough, I learned recently that every day, because our bodies are constantly regenerating, remodeling is the word that the scientists use. Your bones, your skin, your stomach lining, your gut, everything is constantly changing. And so it's growing. So where do you think, what happens to the old stuff? Well, every day there are 30 trillion cells in our bodies die, and dead cells are toxic. So you need to clean those out too. So you've got to be aware that there's a toxicity that's being generated just through metabolism inside your body. So I tell people, look, you got to take Chlorella every day. And when you do, because let's face it, we all take a shower on the outside of our body every day. Taking Chlorella is like giving your body a shower on the inside.
I like that. That's a good visual. That's a good, analogy to have in our minds. And I love that you're talking about doing it based on different timing in the day, taking it before you sleep, when your body's going through its highest level of autophagy activation, that detox process. Right. It's really getting to do so much of its work. So, Catharine, this has been incredible. Tell us, where do we get it? How do we learn more? How do we follow you? Give us all the goods.
Okay, terrific. Well, our main website is ENERGYbits.com, ENERGY, B for boy, ITS.com. And there is a fair amount of science there. We probably have more science on there than anybody, because I'm very education oriented, and we want people to know I don't make any of this up. I don't say anything that I don't have an NIH library reference. As I mentioned, there's 100,000 studies. I have links to at least 3,000 of them. So it is completely what they call evidence-based. So ENERGYbits is our main website. And we have a 20% discount code, Dr. Axe, no dot between doctor and axe, and no space either, just Dr. Axe, all one word. Great. And that'll get you 20% off anything. Now, I don't want people to have sticker shock, so I'm going to show you this. We sell our products in large bags. There's also the boxes of the single pouches that I showed you, but a bag has 1,000 tablets in it. And normally it's $120. With the discount, it brings it down to $96. Now, before you have a gasp of horror, I want to show you, I used that quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of vegetables. So I did the math based on the weight of that bag and realized our bag of algae tablets has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. Now, you don't get the fiber, but you get the nutrition. 551 pounds of vegetables at $3 a pound would have cost you $1,500. So it's what I call efficient nutrition. Yeah. And you don't have to carry it home, clean it, cook it, or eat it. So I call it your nutrition insurance.
That's really beautiful. I'm
So,
glad you did that. And then how else can we follow you? So we can go to your website.
Yes, and then we also sell the smaller packs on Amazon. So if you don't want to try a full bag, you can go to Amazon, try it out for $5, and then come back and use the draxe discount code. And we're very active on social, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our handle is at ENERGYbits. But on Instagram, we also have a separate handle for Beauty Bits. It's very girly, very pink. So come and check it out. Completely different perspective. It's all about women empowerment and beauty from the inside. So yeah, I'm living my dream. I just want to help people get healthy, stay healthy naturally from all the gifts provided to us by Mother Nature. There's lots of other really great indie companies out there. You have a great product line on your website as well. So you can usually trust the small indie brands. We're doing this because of passion and compassion.
Yeah, that is clear.
And I'm also proud that every time we consider ourselves almost like an adoption agency, because every time someone buys a bag of our algae, we know it's going out to do great things in the world. And it's also healing our environment. And on that note, if you haven't seen the Netflix movie Seaspiracy, I encourage people to watch it, because even they say the answer to preserving the ocean is to eat algae.
Oh, this has been so wonderful. You are incredible. Your wealth of knowledge is just so great, and your mission is truly remarkable. Thank you for taking the time.
Just getting started.
It's incredible. And I could talk to you for like 10 hours and I'd keep learning for everybody else.
Yeah, I'd love to meet you in person when we
definitely will. I'm so happy that you were in Miami at the biohacking conference, and keep up the great work. And I'm excited for the Dr. Axe audience to learn from you. And we've got so many resources. So truly, truly, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's been terrific. Thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely.
Bye.
This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed in this podcast are not medical advice and have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. In some cases, individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein.